Anticipation is often underestimated, yet it is one of the most powerful forces in intimacy. Desire doesn't live in what is already happening. It thrives in what is about to happen. Think about the moments in your life when you were most excited. Rarely was it during the event itself. It was in the build-up, the countdown, the imagining of what could be. That same psychological principle applies in foreplay. For many women, the craving is not simply for the act itself, but for the tension that precedes it. We live in a culture that often equates passion with speed, as though the goal is to move as quickly as possible to the finish line. But true eroticism lives in the spaces in between. The glances that linger just a second longer than expected, the teasing touch that doesn't give itself fully away, the deliberate pauses that leave the mind restless with curiosity. These are not delays. They are the very essence of desire. Anticipation is foreplay before foreplay. It begins long before the first kiss, sometimes hours earlier, with the smallest gestures that communicate attraction. A compliment whispered in the morning, the subtle brush of hands at dinner, a look across the room that says, "I see you and I want you." These seeds of anticipation create a mental landscape in which physical intimacy can flourish. From a psychological perspective, anticipation works because the brain is wired for novelty and reward. When something is certain, when it is predictable, desire diminishes. But when there is mystery, when the outcome is not immediate, the brain releases dopamine, the very chemical associated with pleasure and motivation. It is not the guarantee of the reward that excites us, it is the possibility of it. For women, foreplay is less about mechanical stimulation and more about emotional engagement. Anticipation provides that engagement by awakening imagination. It invites her to step into a story where she is both participant and protagonist. And here's the paradox: anticipation is not about withholding. It's not a trick or a game of control. It is about savoring. It is about creating a rhythm in which desire has the space to grow rather than the pressure to perform. When you rush, you collapse the arc of excitement. When you allow anticipation to build, you give both partners permission to enjoy the journey instead of racing toward the destination. One of the greatest truths in intimacy is that arousal is not purely physical. The body follows the mind. A woman who feels desired in thought will respond far more deeply in touch. Anticipation bridges that gap by stimulating the mind first. It creates a sense of being chosen, of being worth the wait, of being wanted not only in the body but also in the imagination of her partner. That sense of psychological seduction is often what women secretly crave most. It tells her she matters beyond the physical act. Think of anticipation as a language. It is spoken through the way you look at her, the way you pause before touching her skin, the way you create silence where something could happen but hasn't yet. Silence, in this context, is not emptiness, it is charged space. It is the place where desire grows. In our age of instant gratification, this kind of patience feels almost radical. Yet it is exactly that contrast between the rush of modern life and the slow unfolding of intimacy that makes anticipation so powerful. What does this mean in practice? It means that foreplay doesn't begin when the clothes come off. It begins with how you hold her gaze hours earlier. It begins with how you make her laugh, how you make her feel seen, how you let her know she is not just another task in your busy day, but the person who can stop time for you. Women crave that sense of being anticipated themselves. When you show that you have been thinking of her, imagining her, waiting for her, you give her the freedom to surrender to the moment. Because in that space, she is not only desired, she is celebrated. There is also a philosophical dimension to this. Anticipation reminds us that intimacy is not a transaction to be completed, but an experience to be lived. It echoes the wisdom that the richest moments in life are not about arriving, but about unfolding. In many ways, desire mirrors our search for meaning. It thrives not in certainty, but in possibility. To create anticipation is to honor that truth. It is to say, I value not just what we do, but how we arrive there together. When we talk about women secretly craving anticipation, we are pointing to a deeper human need, the need for excitement that is intertwined with safety. Anticipation is thrilling, yes, but it is only truly fulfilling when it exists within trust. That is why the build-up must be laced with reassurance, with affection, with the knowledge that this isn't a game of withholding, but a gift of deepened intimacy. When a woman feels that, anticipation stops being frustrating and becomes intoxicating. So the invitation is this: slow down. Learn the art of waiting without withdrawing. Understand that desire doesn't need to be manufactured. It needs to be allowed. The power of anticipation is not in making her guess whether you want her. It is in showing her again and again that you do, while letting the tension breathe long enough for her to crave what comes next. If there is one idea to take away, it is this: anticipation is not the delay of intimacy, it is its foundation. It is the quiet spark that makes everything else come alive. And when you master it, you don't just touch her body, you awaken her imagination. And nothing is more erotic than that. If anticipation is the spark that ignites desire, presence is the oxygen that keeps it burning. You can build as much suspense as you like, but if when the moment arrives you are distracted, divided, or absent in spirit, the flame dies almost instantly. Presence is not about being in the same room. It is about being fully absorbed in the experience, with nothing competing for your attention. And in intimacy, that kind of presence is not just wanted, it is craved. Desire is rarely born in extremes, it flourishes in the tension between them. One of the things women secretly crave during foreplay is this interplay between softness and strength. It is not about one or the other, but about the dance between the two. Too much softness can feel passive, lacking direction. Too much strength can feel invasive, overwhelming. But when the two are woven together with sensitivity, something remarkable happens. She feels both safe and thrilled, cherished and desired, secure and yet fully alive in her vulnerability. This balance is not easy to strike, because it requires attunement. It demands the ability to shift in rhythm with her, to sense when she craves gentleness and when she craves intensity. And here's the truth. Those two desires often live side by side. Women do not want to be only nurtured nor only pursued. They want both. They want to feel tenderness in one moment and passion in the next. It is in this contrast that intimacy gains its depth. Think of music. A song that never changes tempo becomes monotonous. A song that is always loud becomes noise. But when quiet notes give way to crescendos, when pauses are followed by bursts of rhythm, the experience becomes captivating. The same principle applies to foreplay. It is the variation. The subtle caress followed by a firmer grip, the playful kiss followed by a bolder one, that keeps desire awake. Softness without strength feels hollow, and strength without softness feels harsh. Together they create harmony. Philosophically, this balance reflects something deeper about the human condition. We are all wired with dual desires: the need for safety and the need for excitement. Too much safety and we feel stagnant. Too much excitement and we feel unsafe. Women, like men, live in this paradox. Foreplay that honors both needs acknowledges her humanity. It reassures her that she is protected even as she is pursued, that she is valued even as she is desired. This is not just physical, it is profoundly psychological. Strength, when expressed well, is not domination. It is confidence, direction, the ability to hold space. It is the firm kiss that communicates, "I want you." It is the guiding hand that shows certainty without force. Women crave this kind of strength, not because they want to be controlled, but because it allows them to surrender without fear. True strength is not about overpowering, it is about creating a container in which vulnerability becomes safe. Softness, on the other hand, is not weakness. It is attentiveness, patience, the willingness to be gentle. It is the light touch that lingers, the affectionate kiss that reassures, the embrace that melts defenses. Softness communicates care, respect, and love. Without it, intimacy feels transactional. But when it is balanced with strength, softness becomes erotic rather than merely affectionate. Because now it exists not in isolation, but in dialogue with passion. And here is where attentiveness matters. Every woman, every moment, every context is different. What feels right today may not feel right tomorrow. Presence, as we discussed earlier, is the key to sensing these shifts. The art lies in adjusting, in being attuned enough to know when to soften and when to intensify. It is less about following a formula and more about improvising in real time. And the beauty of it is that when you are attuned, she will guide you without saying a word. Her body will tell you. From a psychological perspective, this balance speaks to attachment. Softness meets the need for closeness, for reassurance, for emotional safety. Strength meets the need for excitement, for novelty, for adventure. When both are present, intimacy becomes whole. When only one is offered, something feels incomplete. A relationship built only on softness risks losing erotic tension. A relationship built only on strength risks losing trust. The magic is in holding both at once. Consider also the symbolism of these gestures. A firm grip says, I want to claim you. A gentle caress says, I want to care for you. Together, they communicate a message that is irresistible. You are both my passion and my treasure. That is what women crave, not to be one or the other, but to be both at the same time. It is the paradox of wanting to feel conquered and cherished, pursued and protected. And this paradox is not a contradiction. It is the essence of desire. But balance is not achieved mechanically. It is achieved through authenticity. If strength feels forced, it becomes aggression. If softness feels performative, it becomes hollow. What matters is that both emerge from genuine feeling. Desire expressed honestly, care expressed sincerely. When a woman feels that your strength is fueled by passion and your softness by affection, she responds not just physically but emotionally. Because now, the experience is not about what you are doing, it is about who you are being. This interplay of strength and softness also mirrors life itself. We move between vulnerability and power, between surrender and control, between gentleness and determination. Intimacy is simply the place where these universal rhythms are expressed most tangibly. To embody both is not just to be a skilled lover, but to be a whole human, capable of holding paradox without collapsing into extremes. So what does this mean in the simplest terms? It means don't be afraid to hold her firmly, but don't forget to touch her gently. But don't be afraid to kiss her with passion, but don't forget to kiss her with tenderness. Let your presence carry both certainty and compassion. Show her that she is safe in your strength and cherished in your softness. Because when you strike this balance, you offer her more than physical pleasure. You offer her the profound experience of being desired and loved in the same breath. And that is the balance she secretly craves most. Think of the difference between a conversation where someone is half listening, their eyes darting toward their phone, compared to when someone locks in with you, giving you their full attention. The latter makes you feel important, worthy, remembered. The same principle applies in intimacy, only magnified. Women crave that unmistakable sense of undivided focus, where every gesture tells her that in this moment nothing else matters but her. Presence is not passive. It is active participation in the experience. It is reading her body language, noticing the subtle shifts in breath, the way her shoulders relax when she feels safe, or the way she leans closer when something excites her. These details are not trivial. They are the very map of intimacy. When you are present, you are not performing. You are responding. You are not following a script. You are listening to the cues that are already there. Psychologically, this speaks to the universal human need for recognition. We long to be seen, not in the superficial sense, but in the deepest sense. Seen for who we are, seen in our vulnerability, seen in our desire. For women, this recognition during intimacy can be transformative. When a partner is fully present, it communicates, I notice you, I value you, I am with you. That message can be far more erotic than any technique, because it reassures her that she is not alone in the experience, she is met. But here's where many falter. Presence cannot be faked. You cannot simply nod and pretend to be attentive, because the body always reveals the truth. Distraction leaves a residue. If your mind is elsewhere, if your touch is mechanical, if your gaze is unfocused, she will feel it instantly. Desire shrinks in the absence of genuine attention. On the other hand, when you are truly present, even the simplest touch feels charged, because it carries the weight of awareness. There is also a philosophical layer to this. Presence is about entering the timelessness of the moment. In our daily lives, we are pulled in countless directions: emails, deadlines, responsibilities, constant notifications. Intimacy offers a sacred counterpoint, a space where the clock disappears, where the only reality is what is happening between two people right now. When you bring presence into foreplay, you create that timeless space. You give her the gift of freedom from everything else, and that is a gift no woman forgets. From a practical standpoint, presence means slowing down enough to notice. It means asking yourself, how is she responding? What is her body telling me that her words may not? Where is her energy leading us? This requires humility, because it demands letting go of ego and performance. It is not about doing what you think should happen. It is about discovering what is actually happening. And in that discovery, you create an experience that is unique to the two of you in that very moment. Presence also deepens trust. When she senses that you are with her, not just physically but emotionally, her body relaxes into openness. Desire thrives in safety, and safety is born from attentiveness. It is in the quiet noticing of a sigh, a smile, a hesitation, that she feels cared for. Without that, touch can feel hollow, even invasive. With it, touch becomes an affirmation: you are here, you are safe, and you are wanted. There's a paradox at play here. Many believe that being present means doing more compliments, more techniques, more effort. But often presence is not about adding but subtracting. It is about stripping away distractions, quieting the noise in your own mind, and focusing entirely on what is before you. A single kiss given with full attention carries more power than a dozen gestures performed on autopilot. Because what she craves is not the quantity of touch, but the quality of presence within it. And presence doesn't only happen in silence. Words matter here too, but not rehearsed lines. Genuine words that reflect your attention. I love how you react when I do that. You feel incredible right now. Or simply her name whispered with sincerity. Show her you are not lost in yourself. You are with her. This kind of attentiveness turns intimacy into dialogue rather than monologue. It transforms touch from action into conversation. At its core, presence is about curiosity. It is about approaching your partner not as someone you already know completely, but as someone you are always discovering. Desire thrives in mystery, and mystery requires openness to what unfolds. If you believe you already know everything, presence disappears. But if you stay curious, if you allow yourself to be surprised by her responses, then every encounter becomes new. The beauty of presence is that it doesn't end when foreplay ends. It extends into every interaction, into every shared glance, into every moment you remind her that she is not an afterthought but a priority. Women crave this not because they are demanding attention, but because presence is the foundation of intimacy itself. Without it, everything else is hollow. With it, even the simplest touch can feel extraordinary. So the invitation is to reclaim presence as the heart of intimacy, to silence the noise, to let go of the checklist, to surrender to the immediacy of the moment. Because in the end, presence is the most erotic gift you can offer. It says without words, I am here, entirely, with you, for you. And there is nothing more powerful than that. If anticipation awakens the mind, presence anchors the body, and balance stirs the emotions, then words give intimacy its meaning. Foreplay, after all, is not only a physical language, it is also a verbal one. And women secretly crave this dimension perhaps more than many men realize. Because as powerful as touch is, words have the ability to unlock something deeper: the imagination, the sense of worth, the reassurance that she is not just desired in the moment, but valued in her being. We underestimate the erotic power of language. We assume desire lives only in skin-to-skin contact, but in truth, desire often begins in the mind. A phrase whispered at the right moment can ignite something no touch could. Words affirm. They frame the experience. They give context to the physical. Without them, intimacy risks feeling mechanical. With them, intimacy becomes emotional, even spiritual. But it is not any words. It is not empty phrases or cliches. What women crave is sincerity. Words that are real. Words that show attention. Words that prove you are not simply enacting desire, but feeling it. There is a world of difference between saying, "You're hot," and saying, "I can't stop thinking about how much I want you right now." One is generic. The other is personal, anchored in presence, infused with genuine emotion. Women can tell the difference immediately. Psychologically, this craving for verbal reassurance ties back to a deeper need, the need to feel seen and affirmed. In many ways, women's erotic desire is intertwined with their identity. To be told she is beautiful, cherished, irresistible, or simply that she matters in this moment, is to have her value reflected back to her. It creates emotional safety, and safety is what allows vulnerability. Touch may arouse the body, but words arouse trust. And without trust, the body resists surrender. There is also a paradox in erotic communication. On one hand, women want reassurance. They want to know that they are wanted, that they are enough. On the other hand, they crave playfulness, surprise, and the freedom that comes with uninhibited expression. Verbal connection, therefore, is not just about flattery, it is about weaving reassurance with spontaneity. It is the whisper of admiration one moment and the playful tease the next. It is giving voice to the desire you feel, and in doing so, making her feel not only safe but also excited. Think of language as a bridge between two inner worlds. Touch may connect bodies, but words connect imaginations. And the imagination is where desire truly lives. When you speak with authenticity, you allow her to step into your mind, to feel your passion, to inhabit your perspective. And that is intoxicating. To know not only that you want her, but how you want her, why you want her, what about her has captivated you. This awakens her in a way silence cannot. Philosophically, this reflects a deeper truth. Intimacy is not just physical contact, it is shared meaning. It is not simply what is happening, but what it signifies. Words provide that meaning. They turn a touch into a declaration, a kiss into a promise. Without words, experiences remain surface level. With words, they become narratives. And women crave that narrative. They want to feel part of a story, not just an act. But we must be careful here. Words can be powerful tools, but they can also be dangerous if used carelessly. Insincere words, exaggerated praise, or scripted lines can break the spell instantly. The key is to let language arise naturally from genuine feeling. Speak what you actually notice, what you actually feel. If her laughter excites you, say it. If her touch undoes you, admit it. Vulnerability in language creates intimacy because it shows honesty. And honesty is the foundation of connection. There is also the matter of timing. Verbal reassurance is most powerful when it punctuates the moment rather than interrupts it. A single phrase, whispered in her ear while you hold her close, carries far more weight than a stream of chatter. Words, like touch, require rhythm. Too much and they overwhelm. Too little and they leave a void. The art lies in balance, allowing silence when silence is charged, and speaking when words would deepen the moment. From a broader perspective, the erotic power of words extends beyond the bedroom. Women crave emotional connection in daily life as much as they crave it in foreplay. Compliments that feel authentic, expressions of appreciation, words of admiration that are unprompted. All of these prime the emotional landscape for intimacy later. In this way, verbal reassurance is not just foreplay in the moment. It is foreplay throughout the day. It is a reminder that desire is not something that switches on and off, but something that is continually nurtured. Ultimately, what women want is not a performance of language, but a partnership in expression. They want to feel not only touched but understood. They want to know that intimacy is not silent, but alive with communication. They crave the reassurance that their presence moves you, that their body excites you, that their being matters to you. And when words are delivered with sincerity and spontaneity, they deepen the connection into something unforgettable. So the invitation is simple: speak, not endlessly, not theatrically, but authentically. Let your words match your touch. Let them carry desire, admiration, affection. Let them tell her not only that you want her, but that she matters to you beyond this moment. Because when you do, foreplay becomes not just physical seduction, but emotional affirmation. And here is the closing truth: words, when spoken with presence and sincerity, do not just arouse the body, they awaken the soul. And that is the connection women secretly crave most.